Last week on the Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, let's welcome Heather to the show. Heather Blatz, love seeing you. What is that thing or couple things that help you perform at the highest level all the time?
Constantly evaluating, journaling, talking about how our days are going, and figuring out what we like about them, what we don't like about them, and then what we're going to do to change them.
Just doing the little things like that have the biggest impact.
I have to be intentional about what I'm doing. I have to be intentional about my time. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Let's talk about the community you've built in Fort Walton Beach.
My whole thing is that there's so many people out there that know more than I do, and that's the value that I want to bring to the community itself. Being
able to put a community together is extremely impressive.
Opportunity is not going to show up on your doorstep, right? You got to go out there, but you have to know that it exists and you have to be searching for it. Some people will sit at a table with people that they know, or if they don't and they sit at a table, some of them just won't talk. And so if you make them talk and say something, the desire is that connects, and then it gives somebody that open door to communicate.
Having this networking and the community helps, bring out the real support among each other.
I've gone through all these rise up moments, rise up as a mom, rise up as an entrepreneur, rise up in whatever relationships that we're in. We can't wait for other people to do that, right? We have to be the ones that go, I'm going to rise up to this occasion. The team of realtors, the organization of realtors is a team, and each person playing a different role, each person playing a different part. If you're not giving your best yes, then maybe your yes is actually hurting you and other people. And so learning and understanding that saying no is not a bad thing, but possibly be saving the situation or somebody from, not getting the best thing out of that.
The power of saying no is something that can help be a time saver.
If you have something in your heart, if you have something that's constantly tugging on your heartstrings to accomplish or to do or to be a part of, you were meant to walk that out.
It's been a blast. We'll connect again soon.
Sounds good. See you later.
If you missed any of last week's episode, make sure you go back and check it out on the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel, the Facebook page, the business page. You can find the show on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Audible. And of course, if you scan the QR code, you'll pull up the link tree, and the link tree is going to have all the different places where you can find the show and content that I'm doing out there on probates, partitions, all the crazy weird stuff in the title world. And of course, one of my favorites is Instagram. So follow us on Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti. You'll see all the micro content from the show and all the stuff that I'm even interviewing people out on the streets and doing the stuff on the probates and all that other stuff. So make sure you check that out. We are in for a treat tonight when we get into the luxury real estate market. I want you all to make sure you have your notepad, your pen, and ask questions, drop comments. Megan will respond to them. We want to make sure that you all get your questions answered and you're able to ask questions because we're live. That's what's great on a Wednesday night at 9 p.m., right? We're live and you can drop your comments there, and we love when you all interact and engage with the show. So I'm ready to go. So let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and bring in the best in the business that can help elevate our businesses, elevate our personal lives, and elevate all of what we do so that we can take our companies to the next level. On my show today, I have Megan Romine. Megan and I connected a while ago when I was in Miami practicing. I had just started out, and I'm connecting with a whole bunch of people, realtors, investors. And I remember I connected with Megan. She's a realtor in the Fort Lauderdale area. And I remember at the time, she was really getting to the real estate stuff. And I don't know if it was all in the luxury yet, but I know she was really in that Fort Lauderdale market. And since then, we've kept in touch. We're on Facebook, and it's crazy because what our social media world has done has allowed us to stay in touch, even if she's in Fort Lauderdale. And I've watched her on social media throughout the years. I've seen what she's been doing. I think it's fantastic. And we're going to really dive in on the luxury real estate market, what people are looking for, tips and tricks. How do you connect with clientele? And I think this is important, because we've actually not had anybody on the show talk about the luxury real estate market. And that's going to be big because people want to hear about that. It's a different world, right? We have all of our different niches like probate side, distress side, wholesaling, all of that, but we haven't gotten to luxury. So we're going to dive in on that. And I just want to say opening thoughts for tonight is reconnect with the people that you connected with a long time ago, because those relationships are really important, right? This is why it's important, because Megan and I connected a long time ago, and now she's on the show, and I know she's got things going on down there she wants to share with us. That helps provide value to our communities, and that is important. So just want to make that shout out right there. All right, without further ado, let's bring on Megan to the show. Megan, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me
Of
out.
course. It's crazy getting to see you. And like I said, I followed your journey on Facebook. I see all the stuff that you're doing, high-end luxury, and from where you've come and to now, it's unbelievable. And then we got to chat the other day, and it sounds like a lot of things have materialized. So I'm ready to hear about this because this is an interesting story. Tell us, like, I know that you're in Fort Lauderdale, but that's not where your journey started. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. So my journey started as far away from the prestigious Broward and Palm Beach County neighborhoods that I live and work in. I'm originally from West Virginia. I grew up in a county that doesn't have a stoplight in the entire county. I grew up on a gravel road. I'm so thankful that I grew up that way. You know, there's such a sense of community, and you know, your neighbors and your friends, their family. So it was so great growing up like that. And I really believe that hard work was something that was instilled in me. I'm the daughter of a one-time coal miner. That coal miner was actually my mother before she started having children. So, you know, I grew up like with the work ethic, like you have to put in the work, and relationships are so important in life. So I got a degree in health science and nutrition. I've always loved health and wellness, but immediately fell into the real estate world. And my dream was just always to sell, you know, high-end real estate. So, you know, being in West Virginia, and I managed portfolios, and I'd reached, you know, the height of my career at that point in time. I needed more. So I started applying to different jobs. I just applied to jobs in Utah and Colorado and Florida. Never actually been to Florida before, but I just knew there was a lot of real estate and a lot of opportunity down here. I got hired by a developer. I sold most of my stuff. At the time, I packed up my car with my little Kia and my dog Daisy, and drove down to Florida. I'd never been here before. Had less than $1,000 to my name, and I was just really dedicated on, you know, following my dream and following my passion. So I worked for a developer, and then after some time, I really wanted to go out on my own, and that's how I coined the marketing Mermaid Realtor. I fell in love with the ocean here. I wanted to share that with other people, and that's how I ended up getting into the higher end, like waterfront space. You know, I didn't start out in luxury real estate. I started off, I had no contacts, no book of business. I started off doing rentals and really just worked my way up from there. So that's a brief kind of like synopsis.
No, that's great. Yeah, I think that's fantastic, because think about how many people, first of all, watch the show, and what we're all looking for is like, you know, the nuts and the bolts of how things are operating in the market. But sometimes, most of the time, the stories behind that person are the most inspiring, because so many people are always trying to find their way and try to take that leap because they don't know if they want to pivot in the market and what they're doing, or change their situation, or where maybe they're in California and they want to go to New York or Florida, just like you went from West Virginia to Florida. And that was, you know, that was the leap that you took. And the relationship part, absolutely. I think what's interesting too is you were in West Virginia, no ocean, no water. And then you come here and you go like full 180. And then you're like, I'm all in on the ocean. I'm fishing. I'm doing all this stuff. And now you're in it. Waterfront properties, luxury real estate. It's impressive, right? I mean, for such a jump.
Yeah, I was very fortunate growing up. My dad was an avid outdoorsman, so was always hunting and fishing. I was fishing since I could walk. And, when I moved to South Florida and I didn't know anyone, and, I did feel like a little like out of place. I'm like, wait, it's so flat here. What am I going to do here? And I saw like on the TV someone like diving with sharks or something. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to try diving. And it changed my life. It changed my perspective. And, I was just so fortunate to, fall into that. And I've always loved the outdoors. And then to be able to take my love of real estate and mix that in with my love of the ocean, fishing, diving. And it's been such a great journey. And, I always tell like my team or anyone that I talk with, listen, if I can do it, you can do it. I, came from very, very humble beginnings, and I didn't know, I didn't have a book of business. I didn't have those connections. Right. With consistency and, the right game plan, anyone can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have that game plan, right? If you have that vision in mind, that's when you can then execute that and do what you did and take off with it, right? Let me ask you this question, because I usually ask this in the beginning of my show, which is, what was the biggest lesson that you learned when you jumped into real estate?
I could say that, I feel like I already knew this, but it's not something that happens overnight. So it's something that you have to stay very consistent. And I always say, don't get married to the outcome. So you have to continuously do something. And regardless of what the outcome is, you have to keep doing it. I think that one of the most important kind of like integral points in my career was when I had someone very close to me, and I was just right on that cusp of breaking into like the high-end luxury market. And someone very close to me sold a property and sold, I think we're roughly around like the $6 million price point all in, something like that. And, I'd been showing them property for a couple of years, and I was so, I was so upset. Someone's so close to me, and I'm like, wait, I've been working so hard. And, like that happening though, that really catapulted my drive even more. And it's funny that I think it was like 4 or 5 months later, I ended up selling a house for $5.5 million to a car dealer, and they were car dealers, the situation that happened before. So just kind of funny, like how life works out that way. So I really think my biggest disappointments and my biggest setbacks have been what have helped propel my career. Actually.
I like that answer. That's huge. When you're learning from those things from the past and then applying them as you move forward, that's what it's all about, right? Learning and becoming wiser to different situations as you go through the real estate market. Awesome. What would you say is going on in the luxury market today? Because you're talking like $5 million, $6 million, and I know like prices have gone up in the last 2 years. But like, what's been happening? What's been the current trend that you've seen going on?
So whenever we're talking about market trends, it's very important to remember it's very neighborhood specific. So even in the luxury space, one neighborhood, like for example, like if you have luxury in Pompano Beach, but then you have luxury in Lighthouse Point, they're like 10 minutes away from each other. If closer, it can be closer than that. But completely different markets, right? But what we've been noticing across the board in high-end luxury real estate, the top 10% of sales, is that there's a little more inventory than there has been during like COVID times over the past 2 years, but prices are still increasing. Quarter over quarter, you're seeing prices increase, and we're nowhere close to the type of inventory that we had pre-COVID. So inventory is really driving the pricing, because if you're looking for a specific type of house, especially waterfront, if you have a specific type of vessel, we just ran into this a few weeks ago, if you have a vessel that's over 110 feet, over 130 feet, the places that you can find are very limited, and that ultimately drives prices. And that's why you're going to see these luxury high-end properties that are still trading for millions of dollars more than what they did last year and the year before. Certainly that's not the case with all across the board in real estate, but that's what we're seeing in the high-end space.
It's funny when you start talking about vessels, like we're in a totally different category right now, right? Like we're not even just talking about house, but like space for the yacht or the boat or whatever whatever it is, this is the different type of market, right? And I mean, Lighthouse Point, I remember 4 years ago, when I was like going through all the probate records and trying to figure out that whole thing back then, I remember I came across Lighthouse Point and was like, what is Lighthouse Point? And I looked it up. It was like, really nice area, like luxury.
Yeah, I mean, in Lighthouse Point, there's a lot of new construction going on. We have one coming soon, coming to the market for 5 million, and that's like, you know, where the prices are at right now. And it's great, and it's the water frontage too. So a lot of these luxury homes, especially if you're looking at waterfront luxury, it's all about the waterfront. So you need somewhere where there's deep water access, where these boats can fit, where the boats can come in and out, and the yachts. And, you know, sometimes you even find with the clientele that the water frontage is even more important than the house. They will buy a piece of property just so they can have their vessel there. And then over time, if they need to renovate or something like that. So, you know, the lifestyle is what is like truly important to a lot of the clientele.
Interesting. I've also noticed one time I looked up like on a map of some of those like little aisles in Lighthouse Point, or even some places in Miami Beach, how they're on the waterfront, but then it's surprising. You have house, land, house, land. And I'm like, I'm really surprised that there's no development going on, or what, like, do you know what some people are doing with the lots that just sit in those aisles?
So, you know, you're going to see that's dwindling. There's not nearly as many lots that are available. And if you drive down the aisles, like Fort Lauderdale, Los Olas Isles is a great example. You know, I'm on Los Olas Isles. I love walking the neighborhood, figuring out what's going on, who's building what. That's another thing, you know, that you should be like on the ground, you know, talking to the neighbors, seeing what's going on. But you're noticing all of these new construction projects are coming up. So, you know, the land, there's not much land to purchase anymore. So that's another thing too. Like these waterfront properties, especially like point lots, for example, increasingly rare, increasingly valuable. If a lot is just sitting there, you know, what I've found, usually it's a family that may be holding on to it. But people are getting more and more apt to sell these lots because the price of land is getting exponentially higher.
Yeah, I'm sure over there. Are you also focused in like Weston and Southwest Ranch area?
That's a great question. So I specialize mostly in waterfront properties, Broward and Palm Beach. I do specialize in like unique waterfront properties. Occasionally I will do unique non-waterfront houses because I feel like my specialty is really getting like targeted marketing to figure out who's going to buy the house. And there's usually such a small buyer pool for these particular homes. But mostly I'm east for the
yeah, because that's a whole other luxury market over there as well. Like there's huge homes over there. I remember when I had my quartet back in high school, I remember we did some gigs over in that area. It was like really nice homes. I'm super nice, but it's very interesting. What are you seeing what kind of people are moving into these houses? Or like, who are these buyers? Are they people that are doing a fix and flip on a luxury house? Are they buying it to Airbnb it? Because I've seen a lot of different properties on Airbnb where they're doing it for like $15,000 a night, and then they're cash flowing because big families come in and they bring, you know, a lot of people, or maybe they're there, or maybe it's professional athletes that are using it. Like, who are these buyers? Who's the clientele? Who's coming in to snatch these up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I can say is in my line of work, confidentiality is very, very important. So I'm going to answer this as just like a very blanket statement. On most of the time, the buyers for particular high-end homes or waterfront homes, you know, what you see in South Florida, this is a lot of second and third houses for these clients. These clients, you know, they travel all over the world. They like to make South Florida their home base in the winter months here because of the weather. Not to mention if they're staying, you know, 6 months in a day, then no state income tax. That's, you know, a really big bonus as well. But I do see a decent amount of people who will buy these luxury properties, and then some of them will Airbnb them. But other people just really like their privacy, and they're using them as second and third residence.
Interesting. Not even as a primary residence.
Yeah, I mean, you will see that, but I see more of second and third
Yeah.
homeowners.
I mean, I've looked on VRBO and Airbnb, and I see some of these properties. They're mansions. I mean, they're huge, waterfront, just huge properties, luxury. And they're going out like $15,000, $20,000, like a lot of money. I mean, sometimes per night. So I could see that being like what some people are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the owners, they'll buy multiple properties like this that are unique. Sometimes they can be really large, or maybe they're just super modern. They're keeping them in their portfolio because, as you know, in real estate, it's great for a magnitude of things. It's great for your portfolios. It can be great for, tax purposes. And these individuals typically look at holding 5 to 6 years. And they'll have multiple properties where they Airbnb them out. Then they might have one that's like their favorite house that they use more so. But you'll see a decent amount of clientele that'll have portfolios. And when they have portfolios, they're typically utilizing the Airbnbs.
Interesting. So, have you seen like a difference in the luxury, like a buyer liking like one style of luxury house or a modern style, contemporary? Like, is there more of a draw to that area, or where are you seeing people gravitate more?
I really see people really love a transitional style. I'm noticing a lot of buyers, you know, a decent amount like the modern, but most of them don't want the super modern. They still want it to feel like home. So the transitional with some nice warm touches is really what a lot of buyers will gravitate towards.
Yeah, because I know there's different trends out there that play a role. So I know different people like those, like the all black, or they like the all white. They like the open floor space. They like and maybe just, I don't know. I've just seen different styles that people gravitate towards. And I know luxury. I mean, if you're making that kind of investment, you love that style, so that's what you're going with. Have you seen any hedge funds buy any of the luxury properties?
With most of the work that I do, I am occasionally, the clientele that, I am with, I see some, but not like an over like large amount.
Yeah, because their focus is really on it was, I don't know, maybe they're back in the game, but the single families, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, from my understanding, like single family houses, mid range is more what they're going after. I see it occasionally, but it's not something that I see
Gotcha.
frequently.
And what would you say has been like the biggest thing with connecting with the clientele? Because you're in a different market than just single family or land, or like with land, people are out of state, right? With single family, they live in the house. With the luxury, I don't know if they live in the house or maybe they come visit down or what they're doing, but what have you learned is the best way to connect with them relationship wise, or what is that?
Great question. So obviously, like, relationships are so key, and also like building trust and building rapport. That is something that is irreplaceable. So like for me, whenever I am introduced to maybe a new potential client, it's something that can take time. Ultimately, too, I think for agents, you get to a point in your career, no deal is going to make or break you. And that puts you in such a power position, because ultimately you are always, no matter what, doing what's best for your client. It doesn't matter how it affects your number or whatever the case may be. And I think that speaks for itself. So once people know that and they get to know you and they see as time goes on, that's the biggest thing is the trust and the relationship, and overall, the reputation that you build over time.
Absolutely. I think the reputation is definitely super important, because you want to have your character and trust and what you do and how you carry yourself and the way that you follow up and engage with people builds that trust over time, right? The trust doesn't happen in a day, but it takes time. But it's all those things: showing up, being present, responding to people timely, and giving them the attention that they need to be able to work the deal or figure out what their next level is. And I think that's super important. Your reputation is everything in the industry. So you need to hold it and carry that, because you don't want it to go anywhere. That's huge.
Yeah, I always tell my team, there's something that no one can ever take away from you is your integrity and your character. And so you have to remember that, your character is what you're doing when other people aren't watching or other people might never know about. Like your values have to be like so strong and so solidified, for you to continue to build your reputation and your rapport. So it's so important. And, with a lot of like my clientele, like, connecting with them, even like outside of work, like lifestyle, with boating, I go to the Bahamas a lot, having like different shared interests and just really having the clientele, feel that we are going to go above and beyond and offer a different level of service. And also another thing that ties into that is like for me in my everyday life, my goal is to just get better and better every single day. I need to be learning more, and every deal that I do, anything that I do, work related and in my personal life makes me better each day so I can best assist my clients.
And that's a great point. What are you doing daily that's helping you learn more? Like, is it more of the situations that you're finding yourself in and that you're learning from that? Is it you're keeping up with maybe current events or something that you're reading? How are you helping yourself become more knowledgeable?
Becoming more knowledgeable, I think what helps me, I don't watch much TV, so I'm always reading. I'm always reading on my computer. And like, for me, like, in the evenings, like I love like reading the news articles and staying up to date on what's happening in our market. And then ultimately I can take this knowledge that I have and then I'm providing that to my clients. And my clients love to be in the know. They want to know what's really going on in real time. That definitely helps me. Also, just getting out and connecting with different people. I talk about this like networking. Like when I network, I'm not specifically looking for new clients. I'm looking for individuals and businesses that can help my clients. So sometimes it may be something like a professional organizer or a chef or something of that nature. The more that I'm networking, the more that I'm meeting different people, the better that I'm getting at assisting my clients and their needs and their lifestyle needs, if that makes
No,
sense.
it does. That's actually a different perspective to networking, because a lot of people go into networking for the business aspect for themselves or to figure out, hey, how can we mutually work together? But your mindset of, I have other people that have needs for this and I need to know who you are and what you do is great, right? I mean, some people don't go into it with that. And I understand that. A lot of people that I network with do too. So that is huge. Networking. I mean, have there been any like really good meetups in Fort Lauderdale?
Honestly, Fort Lauderdale, not so much. I have found some great mastermind events that I absolutely love in the Miami area. I love just connecting with like-minded business people, and also too, some of the groups that I have found, it's really heavily like on business, but also personal. And I think it's so important your mindset. I can't like discuss enough about how important your mindset is in business and in life. And I realized over the years, you can keep growing in business, but you have to keep growing professionally too, because you're not going to be able to meet the next level of business until you're taking care of yourself personally, working on mindset, working on growth, and then you're able to share value with other people. Because ultimately at the end of the day, the more value that you share, that's how you're valuable to your team, your clients, your friends, your family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is a great segue into something I get into on the show as well. We've kind of asked this on the show just because I went through a whole health journey myself, which is, what is something that you do every single day or weekly or you name it, that keeps you personally at high mental acuity, high mental awareness, that high performance level?
So for me, I'm pretty specific. So first and foremost, like sleep is so important. Everyone always makes fun of me because I'm like, oh, it's 9:30. It's my bedtime. I gotta go, guys. Like everyone knows, like I'm not gonna be a late night person. My sleep is really important. So make sure I have optimal function, and that I can be as efficient as possible. Meditation, I do sound healing events and things of that nature, like really like connecting and being very very grounded, I feel like has definitely helped me. And it also can like help your clients too. When you're very grounded, it's really important. Also, some things that has helped me, cold therapy, such as cryotherapy or the cold plunges. I love that. I just had a team meeting at the iCryo in Fort Lauderdale, and we did all of their services. And the way that I interpreted it to my team is, think about this as mindset. You can get through 3 minutes of negative 180 degrees in the chamber. You can set your mind to anything. It's all like overcoming yourself, really, is what it's all about. And doing stuff like cold therapy, it gets you in the habit of like doing things you necessarily like don't want to do, but ultimately it gets you better. And I think that helps with repetition and with consistency.
Interesting. A lot of people have talked about that. I've heard a lot of people talk about like the cold plunge, the cold therapy. It's really different, right? You don't stay in there that long, but it helps just change your mindset and either calm you down or just put you in a different frame of mind that is like really just gets you out of like what that frazzle was before. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also helps, like there's a lot of like health scientific aspects behind it too, and it releases a bunch of endorphins. And so like after you do it, you feel amazing. And I found that, in the high-end luxury real estate space, more and more frequently, our clientele, like they want to be in the know about, the greatest healthcare, the greatest health and wellness, private practitioners that can help with these types of things, whether it's mindset or health. And it's a really strong community that I see, and there's a really strong need for it, especially in the high-end space.
Interesting. Have you seen more clientele go towards the luxury properties that have gyms or pools or water resistant pools so they can swim against the current? Have you seen like unique things like that?
Yeah, great question. Especially after COVID happened, absolutely. People wanted like a self-contained property. So, if it had like a sauna, it had the gym, it had the pool, it had the place for the yacht, they wanted to have everything all inclusive. So it definitely makes a big difference. And now I'm starting to see this need for cold plunges. People are actually asking for cold plunges. They want the cold plunge, they want the sauna. It's super important to a lot of my clientele.
They want it all, right? Like
they should have it all at some of the price points that they have,
absolutely.
right?
I mean, if you're buying it for $6 million, there better be like everything there for you, right? It better have like the full gym, everything, maybe an instructor there with you. It's different because with health and wellness in the luxury market and how people are, that kind of clientele wants to make sure they incorporate both. That's a huge grab, right? Like, especially like you understand that on the health side and the luxury side. So you're able to be relatable with that. And I know like you mentioned before, like now more than ever, the wealthy want the best healthcare and access to private wellness. I mean, what else are you seeing in that field? Because that sounds like more are focused on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a lot with people want to prolong their life and have the highest quality of life. I'm sure a lot of us have heard of like biohacking, and I'm seeing a lot more going towards the holistic route. A lot of vitamins, a lot of supplements, just anything that can give that little bit of extra edge to keep getting better and better. And through my own research, I found that there's places like Switzerland and Germany that have the most advanced healthcare in the world. And really like educating myself more about that ultimately, can help, my clientele. They want to feel good. They want to have access to all of this at their fingertips as well, when they're in South Florida. And if they're, this is a vacation home, they want to be able to come down and utilize those services and know where to go. And it's interesting because these places like the cold plunge or like iCryo, you start attracting like a certain group of people, and you go in there and everyone is so nice, and because the energy is so good because people are going there to get better. and to have that like great, like different energy. So I think it's really interesting. It's pretty unique.
Interesting. Have you seen people buy or be curious about the property in relation to the location of some of these wellness areas? Like if they don't have it in their house, like how important is being in like proximity to these places?
I mean, a lot of times with some of these houses, they have most of what they need already incorporated into the homes. If anything, I see people, the water frontage, they want to know, ocean access. I see that way, way more than, because at the end of the day, a lot of these homes, they can put a cold plunge into their house. They can put the gym inside of their house. So really what I'm seeing is they want the water frontage, and then a lot of buyers, privacy is very important. And also too, what I like teach my team is about like our buyers and our sellers, like confidentiality is so important. And that goes a long way.
What are they doing for the privacy part? Like, is it like a certain type of like plants or lighting, or like what's the privacy area?
Well, there is like certain types of landscaping, that you can have in a home. But something that is becoming increasingly more popular that I'm seeing, like walled and gated houses. In some of these neighborhoods and some of these communities, it just gives that extra level of privacy and that extra level of comfort. And especially you have a clientele that maybe people know or is well known, they don't want people like walking past their house or being able to kind of like look in the driveway.
Right.
So security and, some level of privacy is important.
Interesting. On the water frontage, I mean, if you're buying on these aisles, or you're buying in Lighthouse Point, you're buying in Miami, and you're on the east side, like, you're not on a canal. I mean, you really have ocean access. I mean, what's the concern with some of the buyers with ocean access? Like if you buy there, you're going to have it.
Well, it depends on how close are you? How close are you to get to the inlet? A 10-minute ride to the inlet versus a 40-minute ride to the inlet, that's a big deal. That adds up. Also, if you're talking about direct intercoastal water frontage versus something that's on a canal, I mean, it depends on what size boat you have. You're like direct intercoastal, like your boat might hit up against, like the dock area. You get a lot of traffic right there. Some people prefer not to be direct intercoastal. So it is really dependent upon your needs and also the size of your vessel, depending on like the draft of the boat, how deep it goes. There might be, it's unfortunate that, I see some of these cases where someone will go to buy a house, but, they weren't maybe considering like the draft of their boat. And that's why it's so important to hire a professional that really understands the water frontage, the draft, the beam of your boat, what is the depth of the canal there? Do you need to get someone in there to dredge? And then dredging is a whole other story. So you really need someone that's like very well versed in all the different aspects to make sure that you're getting in the right house for your lifestyle needs. So it can vary tremendously.
I could see it, like the light bulb just went off for me with the waterfront at that point, right? Because it's not just about the house. It's about like, I mean, do you now have to pay somebody to dredge and get it deeper because the boat that you have is huge? Or, can you even fit it? Or how about the other one that you said, like if it's on the busy part of the intercoastal and traffic's coming in and your boat's hitting against the dock. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so then you need like a boat lift, and then if you have a boat lift, that limits like your size, vessel. So those are all important things to take into consideration. And like the dredging isn't a black and white answer. It's not like a dredging company is going to come out and be like, yes, 100% you can dredge. Sometimes they don't even know until they actually start dredging, depending on like the regulations and what they find when they start. So it's making sure that you're very, very informed, because the boat owners, the yacht owners, like that's their lifestyle. That's why they want to be on the water. So could you imagine purchasing a place and then your dream boat, or it's not going to work? Like it's unacceptable. So you have to be very careful and have someone that's like very specific.
I'm sure that's crushed some people where they really love the house, but the boat slip didn't fit what they need or can have.
Yeah, and then, you find sometimes like a compromise. And I find it a lot, with married couples, and, the husband has his bow and the wife really wants a specific house. And sometimes they kind of have to meet in the middle, or maybe they sell the boat and get a different boat. So yeah, it definitely
Interesting.
happens.
Have you seen or maybe not a lot, but have you seen any luxury houses that are distressed?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I sold a house that was around 30,000 square feet. It had been on the market for 5 years. I got the listing and I got it under contract in 30 days. But it was like really like strategic marketing, because that house, I mean, you think about 30,000 square feet and you need a renovation. So yes, we definitely come across that. And for the right buyer, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, depending like on the price point, depending on where it's at. And I definitely have clientele that are looking for those deals. They want those deals. So I definitely come across
Yeah.
it.
I know one guy in our mastermind, like he focuses on trying to find the distressed luxury house and keeps leveling up on the craziest thing that you could do and rehabbing it, putting like an aquarium in the house, like, just like all like in the walls. It's crazy. So like I could just see how some people would be gravitating towards those opportunities to do like a fix and flip, and then having your services to help either list it or come in and just straight up list it, don't even fix and flip it, or do whatever they need to do. But I know there's a big market for the distress side that I see, that so many people that come on the show that are wholesalers and investors. So that's a different market, right? Like the distressed luxury is a different market. And I wonder if it was like a pre-foreclosure, or like something that was up for auction soon. Like I wonder what distressed means in the luxury world.
Well, I mean, you definitely see like, pre-foreclosures, but sometimes you find properties that people just can't keep up on the upkeep any longer. It's a big property, it's waterfront, and, a lot of the times you'll see people that like continue to hold on to it. Maybe they might not even live there. Maybe it might be in the family. And I, know developers and builders, and they want those opportunities. And sometimes it just comes to a point where people are like, I need to get rid of it. And your average luxury buyer is not going to be interested in that. They want to move in, they want to live the lifestyle, they want to enjoy it right away. But for a particular builder or for a developer, an investor, it's a major opportunity. So, if I come across those are like a diamond in a rough, because, we do have clientele that want those and they want to rehab them.
Yeah. I've seen that. And it's really cool what they do with it. How they transform it, and they do before and after. It's like, whoa, it's completely different. Like you have somebody that really wants to make something of this like monster house, like a mansion. It's so cool. I love that kind of stuff. And I love what you say here, which is it's all about perfecting your craft, right? What you do as a luxury waterfront specialist in that area, like it's all about perfecting your craft, learning every single day, learning from things from before, learning from things and people and maybe other realtors that are going through stuff. Elaborate on that, because that seems to be one of the biggest things for you in your business.
Yeah, so one of the things about learning more is the more that you go through different deals. And also for me, I run a team of 7 to 8 agents, 3 admins. So, every single day I am seeing all different types of scenarios. And for me, it's like, it's a win-win for everyone. We're getting through the deals. We're making sure that we're getting to the finish line. And also, like, I just continue to learn more and more. And so does my team. That is the best way. Also, I'm a huge advocate for agent to agent relationships. So I love working with other agents that have that same mindset. And at the end of the day, we get deals done. We find out about off-market deals and, we're able to connect our clients together. And, you're dealing with some of like the best agents. And, we sit down and we can have lunch and mastermind and just figure out how can you learn more. And even for me, it's like, sometimes just going down to the city, if I like a waterfront property and I have like some specific questions, going down to the city and digging in the files and figuring out what more can I possibly find out. And anytime that I do something, especially like an event or something like that, it turns out good. And then I'm like, wait, how can I do it better? So I sit down and I write down, what can I do better next time? And the most important thing is actually implementing these things into your business, because you can talk about it, you can think about it, you have to actually go out there and do it. And I think that the more that you go out there and do it, the more that you get a little bit out of your comfort zone. Each time it gets better and better, and you just keep learning more and
I love
more.
how you said that, which is, it's great to talk about it, it's great to mastermind about it, but really you need to execute it and implement that, not just in the next activity, but really in your business, right? And it's taking those things that you learned from whatever it was and implementing it all over, because they can have ripple effects into your business. And I love how you just said that, and getting better every single day. I think one of the most important things that I've seen in the law firm is really having that communication, that the meetings and setting it on the calendar, and talking about where are we, what's going on, what's the update. You miss a lot of that rapport and getting better as a business owner when you don't have that kind of stuff, right? If you don't put that on the calendar, you don't have the team meetings. We had somebody on the show the other day talked about team meetings and having them weekly and sometimes daily. So those things help you too. And then of course the feedback you get from clients, right? That, the good and the stuff that you got to work on. So I think that's all important. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's important, but like also I'm a very firm believer in like execution. And I think that, team meetings, like they're great, but like there has to be like a main intention and a main purpose behind them. Nothing drives me like more crazy than, just like, oh, we got to have a meeting. Like, what do you mean we have to have a meeting? Like we need it. It needs to be intentional. And I've just found, especially like in the real estate space, like personally, like real estate agents, meetings are good to add value, but at the end of the day, you should be out there doing the things consistently that are going to grow the business. So I don't know. I have a little bit of different perspective. I think it's important, and it's important to be in control of your calendar versus having everything else in your life control you. I think that's important, but I'm just so big on like, you got to execute. You can talk about your business plan. You can talk about what you're going to do marketing wise, but you have to get on the ground, get out there and be present and really do
I love
it.
the perspective. It's great. It's important, right? Because we all are doing different things in our businesses. You're doing one thing, I'm doing one thing. It's like we're all seeing different things that come together can help other people out there in whatever they're doing. So that's huge. I have a segment at the end of my show, which is called Hot Topic. So this is anything that you're seeing that is a real trend, like as in the last week, the last day, something that everybody keeps talking about, something that you keep seeing in the luxury market. Like, what is a hot topic right now that's just like spreading like wildfire in the last week?
Hot topic in the real estate market, I would say really like these properties that there's just not much inventory. So the fact that, there's buyers out there that have, these expendable budgets, and they can't even find sometimes the properties that they want. So I think that it's been a really hot point because, you read the news and you see like the real estate market and everyone's like, oh, the real estate market's going stagnant and this and that, or the market crashing. And really we're just seeing like this strong presence with high-end real estate. And just no inventory being available or dwindling inventory for specific types of properties. Like I said, a property that needs more work is going to take a very specific type of buyer. But if you have something that's move-in ready, it has prime water frontage, a lot of like the transitional, not too modern, but not Mediterranean. Those are really hot properties right now.
Hey, I mean, that could help somebody out there with like what they're looking for, right? We've had so many people talk about different things on hot topics and what's bubbling, like AI or ChatGPT or stuff like that. So you never know what you're going to get from that. I love that. Megan, it's been so great talking to you about this. Totally different world than what I'm used to hearing on the show, actually, and probably the listeners out there. With luxury and waterfronts, like not a lot of people see that. Like for example, in Jacksonville, you have the St. Johns River, and then you have the Jax Beach area, right? And you have Ponte Vedra. You have all these other areas that are waterfront, and so it's a certain type of people or certain type. You have to like want to get into that area, right? Like if you're that realtor that's going to help those kind of people, you have to really understand not only just the land, but the water and the usage and what's coming through as well. So I think there's just a lot to learn on that end and like what people are looking for, right? Like the clientele and what they're looking for and where they're going. So I think it's great. At the end of my show, I have this segment and it's called Final Words, Final Thoughts. And it's anything you're thinking of, whether it's anything we discussed or anything you really want to hammer home, or maybe it's a point that you really want to get across that you haven't yet. So as I do on the end of my show, Final Words, Final Thoughts, Megan Romine.
Final words and final thoughts. I think that working in the high-end space, that you have to have a magnitude of different skills and different traits. But most importantly, you have to know what your buyers and sellers really want. And sometimes you have to know without them telling you. So you have to really be able to truly listen and really understand your client so you can get them the results that they want. And I think that that is a trait that takes time. And, some people don't really think about that. You have to hear what people aren't saying sometimes to truly get the best results for your clients. So that would be my final thoughts.
Active listening, right? It's just really listening to what's going on. I love it. Megan, it's been so fun talking about this. I mean, really interesting topic, and I love what you're doing. I love the journey you're on, and eventually we'll see each other in person. I know it'd be great. I definitely got to see a listing that you have, a $6 million listing. I've never seen that before, so maybe I'll stop by for that. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Talk soon. Take care. All right, everybody. If you missed any of that episode, you got to go back, check it out. If you jumped halfway, rewind, go back. I mean, Megan dropped so many different things on luxury and waterfront properties, and it really hit me on the importance of finding the right realtor for that space when she talked about the luxury side of the house and the water frontage, right? And how, I mean, both go hand in hand when you have luxury and waterfront properties. So you want to make sure you're with the right specialist. So if you missed any of that episode, go back, check it out. And if you want more content like this, make sure you go check out the Al Nicoletti Show on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. You can catch the show on Facebook. Of course, just scan the QR code. Thank you, Mike. Scan the QR code. It's right there. You'll get the link tree, and you'll find all the content, the micro content dropping on Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti, where you'll see everything on the show from guests from season 1 through season 4 and on probate, partitions, and all the weird world and title. I am so excited for next week. Don't miss it. Tune in Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We love you out there. Thank you always for listening. I'll see you then. Take care.